Here is a grouping of the first Paleo Story Stone face and mammoth effigies ever discovered, including the first one discovered right here in the center of the frame. Now, these were discovered back in October of 2020, and they had never been observed before my discovery. They're a new type of Paleolithic effigy. They're found on every continent except Antarctica. They're found going all the way back to Homo habilis some 2 million years ago. And they depict human faces, one young and one old, and mammoths, one young and one old. And sometimes they show a mammoth progression of age from baby to mature to old. But this is the first Paleo Story Stone that I discovered in October of 2020 atop Harvard Hill in the Mojave Desert, Southern California. And I had taken Dr. Gramley there several times, along with some of my other friends and colleagues. And Dr. Gramley really enjoyed Harvard Hill and found it very interesting, the surface artifacts in particular. Basically, they're left in situ exactly where the Paleo Indians left them over 12,000 years ago, except for possibly a little wind movement. But the top of the hill is fairly flat. I took him up to a paleo shrine right up on top of the hill, and there's a little bowl, a little rock bowl at the top of the hill. And it's a paleo shrine with large Paleo Story Stone face and mammoth effigy carved rocks all around the area, all around the little bowl at the top of Harvard Hill. We left it intact. I have pictures of Dr. Gramley and colleagues looking at down at these faces in stone, which are quite obvious. And that area needs to be studied as well. But this is the first one. This is a piece of chert from on top of Harvard Hill. Dr. Gramley did do a paper, presumed Clovis at Harvard Hill, which would date this around 12 to 14,000. It is a flake, and it's an effigy, and a wonderful effigy at that. When I first discovered it, I was focused on the cortex side, or the rough side, the natural side of the stone, using this as an eye of a mammoth facing off to the right. And so I was really enthralled with this part of the stone, but this part hasn't been worked. This is natural cortex. This side is the flake side, and it's been worked some. And we're going to see on these story stones exactly what Paleo Indians accomplished with these stone working techniques. For example, this has been flaked, a big percussion flake this. And it's been carved around the perimeter. We'll see that. It's actually been serrated at the top. That's serrated like a knife or a saw. Those are individual indentions across the top to image the hair on the back of this mastodon or proboscidean facing left. This is the eye of the proboscidean. Here's his trunk, and they even flake this flake here as kind of a tusk coming out this way. And that's a mastodon or proboscidean or mammoth facing left. Back legs here. But what caught my attention were the wonderful face imagery. Here we have a smiling face of a young face with an eye, a nose, and this whole perimeter has been carved to make the profile of the faces. The nose and the mouth right here of the young face, smiling face looking off to the left. And he's wearing a shaman type horn on top of his head. A cap with a shaman horn. And when we look below, my God, we see an eye that's been engraved, a cheekbone that's been engraved, a nose engraved, and a mouth engraved with what looks like a pipe or gourd coming out of his mouth, this tube with this bulbous ball at the bottom of the old face looking off to the left. Unbelievable. And so when Dr. Michael Gramley included my Paleo Story Stone discovery as an official Paleolithic artifact type, when you read the description in his most recent book of Paleolithic artifact types of the Americas, he will indicate in there that these were made by flaking and engraving. That older face with the pipe coming out of his mouth and a gourd or something. Unreal. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. Because it were photographs that I made of this that I was looking at when I discovered the faces. And it was like Paleo Indians were staring me in the eye. Over 12,000 years ago, because this would be probably Clovis in origin, 12 to 14,000 years before present. Wow, was I blown away when I saw those faces. And then I went on to find some others at Harvard Hill. This is a wonderful piece. This has been published in Dr. James Harrod's article of South, Central, and North America artifacts, Paleolithic effigies, sculptures that I've alluded to, and on ResearchGate that I've had provided a link for in just a previous video here. But that's a great mammoth there. There's the eye of the mammoth right there, and its little ear has been just chipped out right there, and its trunk coming down right there. That looks like an elephant facing off to the left with his back legs over here. And then we have faces. We have an eye, and a nose, and maybe wearing some kind of headdress or something looking at us there. And then when we look at it this way, wow, we have some tremendous faces. These two natural holes were included here, and they formed the perimeter and made these two peaks here as a shaman horns. So you got a shaman wearing a shaman horn headdress with two eyes and a nose right here looking right at us. That is cool. Cool, cool. And then we have another face right here of a younger face with the eye and the nose here and the mouth down here, looking off to the left, now wearing an elaborate headdress here. Wow. Unbelievable. And then when we look at it this way, now we have an older face with the eye, big nose, and mouth down here. And we have a younger face looking off to the left with the eye, nose, and mouth. And then we have, and of course, we've seen this face here as well. So this has many images. This is a great mammoth right here. Here's the eye of the mammoth. This has all been lightly pecked here. And it's the trunk of the mammoth coming off to the right. That's a mammoth head with its trunk coming off to the right. Wow. Very, very cool. And then we have another face, an eye, and a mouth looking at us, a human face looking at us there. And on this side, the horn shaman, with the shaman horns and the eye and the nose, they flake the mouth in down below. So you have the eye natural holes, then they flake the mouth below it, and then you have the two shaman horns above the head there. Wow! That's also from Harvard Hill, and this is published in Dr. Harrod's article. This is another one from Harvard Hill. Look at that human face right there. Eye, nose, and mouth of a great face looking off to the left. Now that's looking up from the back of this mammoth with the big trunk sweeping off to the right. That's the mature mammoth with that same image we see over and over and over and over again. And the face is looking up from the back of the mammoth, standard iconographics when it comes to Paleo Story Stone. Face and mammoth effigies, and then we see the baby mammoth with his little beak of a trunk facing off to the left now. Now the face is looking down from the baby mammoth. Again, this is flaked on a flake, and percussion flaking. And then the perimeter has been sculpted, also from Harvard Hill. Then we have this piece was published in Dr. Harrod's article as well. This is a fantastic piece that we're going to see a little extra workmanship that we don't normally see. This is the eye of the mammoth, the eye of the mammoth up here, the big sweeping trunk off to the left. Now that trunk has been pressure flaked all along the edge of it, almost serrated to form that ripples in the trunk, looking off to the left with the eye right here. We also have a real old mammoth with the eye and big drooping trunk, big trunk going off, looking off to the right. And then we have human faces. We have the eye, the nose, and the mouth looking off to the right, wearing a headdress. And then we have this face here with a beard an eye, a nose, a mouth, and a beard looking off to the left. And then we even see another younger face with this eye chipped in right here and this mouth engraved or chipped in right there, with the nose looking off to the left, with this the eye looking off to the left. Below the big older face, we've got the younger face. This is made out of yellow jasper, and it really just images on one side. It does image on this side as well, but not nearly as well. This eye and nose, and this eye and big nose wearing a headdress over here. So it does image, but this is the side here. And not only did they image this is the baby mammoth now facing left with the massive hair tuft above the head. We've got the eye and nose looking right at us now as a human face. But the cool part about this face and mammoth effigy is that these surfaces were smooth in paleo times. And this is yellow jasper. It was smooth. And then I believe they applied red ochre to it. I think that is red ochre staining still remaining on this piece. Now, this would have been face down, so more protected. But still, I know it's been smoothed. That's all been anciently smooth there. That's not natural. It's been heavy-duty smooth, all there, real smooth. Ground smooth. So we see another form of paleo workmanship. Now we see even more paleo workmanship on these. These are like little pictoglyphs, and we see an eye here, and a beard down here, and a nose here, and a shaman horn looking right at us there. Eye, nose, and mouth, maybe beard even, with a shaman horn looking right at us there. And then when we hold it this way, now we see a mammoth facing off to the left here, and that's the mature mammoth. And then we have the face with this pecked eye here and nose and mouth looking up from the back of this mammoth. Now when we hold it this way, now we have that more charging mammoth, youthful mammoth, with the eye pecked in here, the hair tuft above the head, and the slanted charging type look that we've seen on a number of videos that I posted on YouTube. And none of these are geofacts. These have all been flaked. This is root beer colored flint. And if you look at all my videos, you're going to see that they're not geofacts. They're artifacts. They've actually been worked by our Paleo Indian friends. They've been percussion flaked, pressure flaked, pecked. They've been engraved. They've been smoothed. They've been ground. They have all the workmanship that the Paleo Indians would employ on the stone to make these effigies. Now we also have another face with the eye, the nose, and the mouth looking off to the left in this root beer colored flint. Very cool. And so none of these are geofacts. Of all 240 videos plus on YouTube, they're not geofacts because they're all flaked, ground, etched, contoured. So they're artifacts. Now there are other sites that do feature so-called effigies that are just natural stones that haven't been flaked or grooved or etched or ground or engraved or anything or pecked, and many of those are geofacts. But when they're actually worked and you can tell they're worked, that's a different story. Now we have none of these are geofacts. They're all artifacts. Then we have the eye of the mammoth with little crescent eye here of the big old mammoth. That's a wonderful, wonderful image of an old mammoth with a big old trunk facing off to the left. And this is pecked again, just like this one, just little miniature pictoglyphs. But the cool part is when you're looking at the baby mammoth now facing right with its massive hair tuft above the head, you see the eye has been flaked out, and the mouth, they curved it with a little curvature, like a little crescent. Smiling mouth. We've got an eye, smiling mouth, and headdress above the head, or shaman horn above the head. Unbelievable. See, this is root beer colored flint, but this side has a white cortex on it, which they pecked through down to the agate to get the imagery that they wanted. And that's the baby mammoth facing off to the right. And just outstanding workmanship here. And then we have another face here with the eye, and the mouth down here. Of an older face probably, with this one here with the smiley mouth down here being obviously the younger face. What a great out. Then we have another face here with this eye pecked here. This nose has been contoured in this beautiful root beer colored flint, just like this root beer colored flint one here with the white cortex on this one as well. These were found within feet of one another, and they were left as paleo offerings. This side here has some engraving on it too. They loved engraving this root beer colored flint. There's some engraving lines right there. And there's pressure flaking along the edges. So we have percussion flaking, pressure flaking. We have another face with an eye and nose looking up from the back of this mammoth. That's that eye up here that's been engraved, all the hair around it with the big sweeping trunk coming off to the left. And this is translucent. These are just outstanding examples of Paleolithic story stone face and mammoth effigies. This one being the first one ever discovered that I discovered on top of Harvard Hill in October of 2020. Just wanted to share the grouping.